Before we dive into today's story, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend who needs to hear it. Now let's begin. Marissa, 32, had always thought she understood the map of her family. Her father, Lionel, was her compass, steady, kind, and always present no matter how busy life became. Her mother, Regina, on the other hand, was polished like glass in public, but sharp as a blade behind closed doors, always controlling, always orchestrating the smallest details of their lives as if they were actors on her stage. When Lionel's 60th birthday approached, Marissa planned something unforgettable. A surprise trip worth $65,000 to Spain, the land Lionel had dreamed of since his college days. She pictured him standing under the arches of Barcelona, sipping wine in Seville, and tracing family roots in a small village near Valencia. But just when everything was in place, booked hotels, first-class flights, and guided tours, her phone buzzed with a text from Regina. The message was short and brutal. "You're not invited to your father's birthday." Marissa stared at the glowing words, her heart pounding in disbelief. "What?" she whispered into the silence of her apartment, rereading it as if the letters might rearrange into something softer. But they didn't. A sting of confusion and hurt burned in her chest, and then, strangely, a thin smile tugged at her lips. Two could play this game, she thought, though she didn't yet know what it would cost. Growing up, Lionel had been Marissa's hero in every sense. Even though he ran a busy accounting practice with dozens of demanding clients, he never missed a recital, a soccer match, or a science fair. While other fathers claimed business dinners and deadlines as excuses, Lionel showed up in his suit, sometimes with his briefcase still clutched in his hand, cheering the loudest for his daughter. He taught her to ride a bike, explained deductions on her first paycheck, and sat through endless puzzle nights without complaint. Regina, meanwhile, was a different story. She kept the house flawless, her hair perfect, and the family image polished like a diamond. But her approval was a currency, rare, conditional, and expensive. At every holiday gathering, Regina's comments cut through Lionel's stories like small knives. "That's not how it happened, Lionel," she would correct in front of the family, making him laugh it off while Marissa saw the flicker of hurt in his eyes. Relatives noticed, but said nothing, exchanging quiet glances that only deepened Marissa's resentment. By the time Marissa moved to Chicago after college, 200 miles away, she knew distance was the only way to breathe. She still called Lionel every Sunday. With Regina, her contact was limited to obligatory group texts and short, polite calls on Mother's Day. Marissa's career soared quickly. She started as a junior marketing assistant, working long hours and surviving on coffee, but her persistence paid off. Within 10 years, she became director of digital strategy for a top agency, managing campaigns for clients worth millions. Financial independence gave her freedom from her mother's grip, but she still loved spoiling her father. On his 55th birthday, she surprised him with courtside tickets to his favorite basketball team. Lionel's laughter filled the stadium that night while Regina complained about the noise and left early. Marissa didn't care. Her father's joy was worth it. Spain, though, was different. Spain had been Lionel's dream since college, when his grandfather told him stories of vineyards and sea breezes from their ancestral village. Regina dismissed the idea every time it came up. "Why Spain when Miami has better beaches?" she'd say, flipping through magazines. But Marissa saw the way Lionel's eyes softened whenever he spoke of Spain, so she spent months secretly planning. 3 nights in Madrid with a private museum tour, 4 nights in Barcelona with a countryside drive in a vintage Ferrari, and 5 nights near Valencia, visiting the village where his grandfather had been born. She coordinated with his cousin Rafael in Madrid, who promised to help make every detail flawless. Pulling off the surprise required stealth. Marissa called Lionel's office manager, Teresa, a kind woman who adored him. I need your help blocking his calendar, Marissa whispered over the phone. Teresa didn't hesitate. He deserves this, she said warmly, promising to mark his schedule with fake appointments to clear the trip. Marissa arranged business-class flights, boutique hotels, and private guides. The total cost climbed to $65,000, but she paid it without regret. This was her gift, the grand thank you for decades of love and sacrifice. Her younger brother, Julian, who lived in Seattle, was the only one who knew. Their relationship with Regina was equally strained, and when Marissa told him the plan, he immediately offered to contribute $5,000. Dad deserves this, Julian said firmly. Remember how he drove that rusty old sedan for years, just so we could both have braces? Marissa laughed softly at the memory, her chest tightening with affection. Everything was set. The plan was to reveal the trip at Lionel's birthday dinner, just 2 days before departure. It was going to be perfect, or so she thought. The first sign something was wrong came in early April. Lionel's texts, usually warm and quick, grew delayed, oddly formal, and sometimes ended with periods, something he never used. Their Sunday calls stopped. When she reached him, his voice was distracted. "I've got things to do around the house," he muttered before hanging up quickly. Concerned, Marissa sent him a birthday card with tickets to a jazz concert tucked inside. 2 weeks later, the envelope came back, stamped address unknown. She checked the address 3 times. It was correct. "That's strange," she muttered, dialing Julian. "Have you talked to Dad?" He sighed. "Not much. Every time I call, Mom answers and says he's busy." Marissa frowned. "That's every time for me too. And when I call his cell, she picks up." Regina's voice always sounded sugary sweet. "Oh, Marissa," she'd say, "your father's out in the yard. Don't bother him tonight. We're having dinner plans." And then she'd hang up before Marissa could answer. Slowly a pattern emerged. Lionel was always unavailable. Regina always had an excuse. The unease in Marissa's chest turned into dread, though she didn't yet know the storm that was coming. 2 weeks before Lionel's birthday, Regina finally called with what sounded like good news. "We're hosting a dinner for your father," she said coolly, at his favorite steakhouse. Formal, of course. Relief surged through Marissa. This was it, she thought. The perfect chance to unveil the surprise in front of everyone, to watch her father's face light up. "What time should I be there?" she asked eagerly. A pause stretched on the line like a blade. Regina's tone sharpened. "You're not invited." Marissa blinked. "Excuse me? I'm his daughter. That's immediate family." Regina exhaled, as though speaking to a child. "You know what I mean. It's only for those closest. His golf partners, my brother's family, a few friends." Marissa's voice rose, trembling with fury. "So there's room for your bridge club, but not for his own daughter?" "Don't be dramatic," Regina replied flatly. "We'll celebrate with you in July, when you're less busy." That night, Marissa lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Something was very wrong. Regina could be cold, yes, but this level of cruelty was new. The question gnawed at her: was Lionel sick? Or was something darker happening behind the walls of that house? Determined to see the truth, Marissa drove 3 hours to her parents' house that weekend without warning. The driveway was empty and the curtains were drawn. She sat in her car, waiting 2 hours, calling both their phones. No answer. Finally, Mrs. Whitman, the elderly neighbor, spotted her. "Marissa, dear, what are you doing here?" she asked gently. "Waiting for Dad," Marissa replied. Mrs. Whitman frowned. "They didn't tell you?" "Your mother said they'd be out all day, lunch and shopping. They seemed secretive." Marissa's stomach twisted. That night she sent Lionel a long text. "Dad, I'm worried. Please tell me what's happening." The message delivered, but no reply ever came. She emailed him, but the message bounced back with mailbox full. Lionel's inbox had never been full in his life. He was meticulous about clearing it daily. Panic set in. By Monday, Marissa called his office. "Mr. Lionel has taken personal days," the receptionist explained politely. "Mrs. Regina arranged it. She said it was for birthday activities." Marissa's grip tightened on the phone. Lionel never took days off during tax season. The unease became dread. Something was being hidden, and she was locked out. Later that week, Julian called with a whisper of confirmation that chilled her blood. "You won't believe this," he said. "Aunt Clara asked why I wasn't going to Dad's dinner. She said Mom told everyone I was too busy with my startup." Marissa's heart dropped. "She told me the same thing about you," she said bitterly. Julian swore under his breath. "It gets worse. Aunt Clara also said Mom's been telling relatives that you've been having personal problems, that you needed space from the family." Marissa froze. "She's painting me as unstable." Julian sighed. "Dad's secretary even told me he was disappointed you canceled lunch with him last week." Marissa's hands shook. "I never canceled anything. She's intercepting everything." That night, Marissa dug into her old memory of Lionel's email password pattern. Birth years mixed with pet names. After a few tries, she was in. Her breath caught as the inbox loaded. Dozens of emails to her from Lionel had been marked as spam. Replies deleted before sending. Lunch invites. Updates. And one that broke her heart. "Marissa, I don't know what I've done wrong. I miss our talks. Please don't shut me out." Tears blurred Marissa's vision as she scrolled through more. Each message was proof that Lionel had been reaching out, desperate, confused. The account log showed frequent logins from Regina's iPad. Marissa's chest tightened. This wasn't just interference, it was sabotage. With shaking hands, she called her mother. "Why are you blocking my emails to Dad?" she demanded. Regina's tone was syrupy smooth. "I don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes I check his inbox when he's busy." Marissa's voice hardened. "That doesn't explain why my messages are deleted." Regina snapped back. "Maybe if you called instead of relying on texts and emails, you'd have a better relationship with him." Marissa's temper flared. "I try calling. You always answer his phone." "Because he doesn't want to talk to you," Regina hissed suddenly. "He's tired of your expensive gifts and your bragging about your job. He asked for peace without you there." Marissa froze. The words felt like poison. "That doesn't sound like him at all," she whispered. "You don't know him like I do," Regina shot back before slamming the line dead. The next day, Marissa called her closest friend, Ivy, a cybersecurity specialist. "Can you help me recover deleted emails?" she asked desperately. Ivy worked quickly, and within hours, a flood of data appeared. Deleted emails, intercepted bank alerts, and even a fabricated message written as if from Marissa. "Dad, I need space. I won't be at your birthday." Marissa's chest ached. The manipulation was deliberate, but then came something worse. Ivy uncovered financial records. Withdrawals labeled as helping Marissa with bills totaling nearly $50,000. "What the?" Marissa muttered. She had never asked Lionel for a cent since college. Credit card records showed thousands lost at casinos. Regina had been gambling heavily, covering her tracks by claiming the money went to Marissa. The Spain trip, the celebration, all of it felt poisoned. Marissa sank onto her couch, clutching her phone. "She's not just keeping us apart," she whispered. "She's stealing from him and framing me." The decision came quickly. Marissa called the travel agent. "Cancel everything," she said firmly, though her voice cracked. "Flights, hotels, guides, everything." The agent hesitated. "You'll lose the deposit, $12,800. Marissa closed her eyes. "I understand. Just send the cancellation to me and copy my father's email." Within 30 minutes, her phone rang. Regina's voice was sharp as glass. "What have you done?" Marissa steadied her tone. "I canceled Dad's surprise. Since I'm not welcome, I won't fund a trip." "You'll break his heart," Regina snapped. Marissa's anger finally broke through. No, Regina, you already did that. That night, she compiled everything: the recovered emails, bank statements, fabricated messages, and screenshots of relatives repeating Regina's lies. She sent the entire file to Lionel, copied Julian, and dropped it into the family group chat with one note: Dad, I love you. Here is the truth. By morning, her phone was a storm. Dozens of missed calls. Apologies from relatives who had believed Regina's stories. One trembling voicemail from Lionel: Marissa, I'm so sorry. Please call me. Hours later, Julian arrived at her apartment, his expression grave. Dad's devastated, he said softly. He left the house. He's staying with a friend to get away from Mom. He wants to see you. An hour later, there was a knock at the door. Marissa opened it to find Lionel standing there, looking older, weary, but with tears in his eyes. Without a word, he hugged her tightly, holding on as though he'd never let go. I should have known, he whispered into her hair. Over coffee at her kitchen table, Lionel explained how Regina had shown him fabricated emails, claimed Marissa had outgrown the family, and even blamed her for missing funds. She made me believe you didn't want me anymore, he said bitterly. I found out she's taken nearly $200,000, max cards, a second mortgage, even touched the Spain trip money. His voice cracked. Spain was my dream for decades. Marissa's throat tightened. I wanted to give it to you, Dad, and she made sure you couldn't. That evening, Julian set up a family video call, no Regina allowed. Relatives apologized one by one, some offering legal help, others pledging support for Lionel. Even cousin Raphael from Madrid appeared on the screen, promising that whenever Lionel was ready, Spain would still be waiting. The next morning, Lionel turned to Marissa. Come with me, he said quietly. I want her to face you after what she's done. Together, they drove back to the family house. Regina greeted them with flawless hair and a practiced smile, as if posing for a portrait. But in the living room, Lionel's voice was unshakable. No more stories, Regina. We have proof. We want the truth. For over 2 hours, her defenses cracked. She admitted to the gambling, the lies, the manipulation. When Marissa mentioned the canceled trip, Regina lowered her head. I panicked. If you two talked, everything would come out before I could fix it. Lionel's voice was filled with disbelief. You banned your own daughter for my birthday. Regina whispered. I was desperate. Silence filled the room. Finally, Lionel laid out his terms. Treatment immediately, full financial transparency, and no more deception. Regina nodded, defeated. As they drove away, Lionel squeezed Marissa's hand. You didn't just save our relationship, he said softly. You may have saved her life. With the confrontation over, Lionel refused to return to the house that night. Instead, he drove Marissa to a small diner off the highway, the kind of place with worn leather booths and a jukebox humming old jazz. Over steaming mugs of coffee, he spoke quietly. For years, I convinced myself that Regina's control was just part of her personality, that she was keeping the house running, keeping us all organized. But this... He shook his head, eyes glistening. This was theft, lies, and betrayal against her own family. Marissa reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. She didn't just hurt you, Dad. She tried to erase me. Lionel's jaw tightened. That's what I can't forgive. I can lose money, I can forgive gambling, but I can't forgive her trying to cut you out of my life. For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy but honest. Then Lionel managed a weary smile. Spain will have to wait, but I'd rather wait knowing we'll go together when the time is right instead of living a lie. Marissa nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. In that shabby diner, father and daughter made a pact. Whatever storms came, they would face them together. Julian flew in 2 days later to stay with them. The three of them gathered in Marissa's apartment, where laughter returned cautiously, mingling with grief. They planned a modest birthday dinner. 12 guests who had stood by Lionel. On the night of his 60th, Marissa's living room glowed with warm lights. jazz records spinning in the background. Cousins shared stories about Lionel's patience. Nieces and nephews clung to him as though afraid he might disappear. For once, there was no tension. No sharp interruptions from Regina. When the cake came out, Lionel rose to speak. "At 60, he said, voice trembling, "I've learned that polished lies mean nothing compared to messy truth. My daughter gave me the courage I didn't have. She refused to let go of me, even when I was blind." He looked at Marissa, eyes shining. "I thought Spain would be my greatest gift. But it turns out it was never about Spain. It was about family, honesty, and love that survives lies." Guests applauded softly, and Marissa, swallowing her tears, whispered, "Happy birthday, Dad." In the weeks that followed, Lionel moved into a small apartment near his office. He froze joint accounts, hired lawyers, and set up alerts on every card. Regina entered a 30-day treatment program for gambling addiction. Followed by counseling, though Lionel kept a cautious distance. When Marissa met Regina for the first time after treatment, it was at a cafe in public with Julian beside her. Regina looked smaller somehow, her voice subdued. "Addiction explains some of it," she admitted, staring into her cup. "But it doesn't excuse it. I know I hurt you both." Marissa said nothing, watching her carefully. Julian broke the silence. "It will take years to rebuild trust. Don't expect shortcuts." Regina nodded, accepting the truth without defense. For Marissa, the encounter felt like a shift. The mother who had once controlled everything now looked like a woman dismantled by her own choices. Still, the wounds were deep, and forgiveness would not come easily. Later that night, Lionel told Marissa quietly, "I don't know if I can ever forgive her for trying to steal you from me, but I can live with honesty. That's what matters." By the time Lionel's 61st birthday approached, their lives had settled into a cautious but hopeful rhythm. Sunday dinners became tradition at Marissa's apartment. Sometimes Regina joined, sometimes not, but the conversations remained honest, even when uncomfortable. Lionel's business began to thrive again, and little by little, the family stitched itself into something new. One evening, on the balcony overlooking Chicago's skyline, Lionel turned to his children. "Spain is still out there," he said softly, a smile tugging at his lips. "The vineyards, the sea, the village near Valencia, they'll wait for us. But the truth? Sitting here with both of you, I already feel like I'm home." Marissa's eyes filled with tears as Julian clinked his glass to theirs. "When we go," Julian said, "we go together. No secrets, no lies." Lionel laughed, the sound warm and unburdened. "That's worth more than any trip." And in that moment, under the city lights, they realized the real journey wasn't to Spain. It was back to each other. Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you are watching from under the comment section.